Sarah's mother always said the basement was off-limits because of black mold, but standing amid her belongings 3 days after the funeral, Sarah realizes the scratches on the inside of the steel door weren't made by anything human. The marks ran deep into the metal, 4 parallel grooves that caught the dusty light from the hallway. Sarah traced them with her finger, her stomach turning. Nothing she could think of had claws strong enough to gouge steel like butter. She should leave. Box up the china, call an estate sale company, and get back to her apartment in the city where things made sense. That's what any reasonable person would do. Instead, she heard the whimpering again. It was soft, barely audible beneath the house's settling groans, but it was there. Something alive. Something hurt. This is stupid, Sarah muttered, but her hands were already working at the padlock with a crowbar from the garage. The lock was new, industrial grade, completely at odds with the rest of the decrepit house. Her mother had replaced it recently. That alone should have been a warning. The lock gave way with a sharp crack that echoed through the empty house. Sarah pulled the door open, and the smell hit her first: damp earth, old blood, and something wild. The wooden stairs descended into darkness. She fumbled for her phone's flashlight with shaking hands. "Hello?" Her voice sounded small. The whimpering stopped. She took the stairs one at a time, the beam of light swinging across stone walls covered in symbols she didn't recognize. They'd been painted in something dark and flaking. At the bottom, the basement opened into a single room, much smaller than she expected. And in the center, chained to an iron ring bolted into the floor, was a wolf pup. Sarah froze. Wolves didn't live in Pennsylvania. Not anymore. Not for 100 years. The pup was small, maybe 4 months old, its gray fur matted and dull. A silver collar circled its neck, attached to a heavy chain. Around it, someone had drawn a circle in salt, and beyond that, more symbols covered every inch of the floor. The pup lifted its head and looked at her. Sarah's breath caught. Its eyes were wrong. Not the yellow or amber of a wild animal, but a clear, startling blue, human blue. And the way it looked at her, with recognition and something like hope, made her skin crawl. "What the hell, Mom?" she whispered. The basement was arranged carefully, deliberately. Empty bowls sat just outside the salt circle. A folded blanket lay in the corner, too far for the pup to reach. And on a small table near the stairs, beneath a camping lantern, sat her mother's journal. Sarah forced herself to move, circling wide around the pup to reach the table. The journal was new, barely a quarter full. Her mother's handwriting, usually so precise, was shaky and irregular. She flipped to the last entry, dated 2 weeks ago. "He's growing too fast. The transformation will come early, I think. 17, maybe younger. I thought I had more time. I thought I could figure out how to break it before then. Forgive me, Sarah. I kept him from you to protect you both. The curse must not spread. He must never know what he is, or what he'll become on his 18th birthday. I'm so tired. If you're reading this, I'm gone. I'm sorry for leaving you with this choice. But he's your brother. He's all the family you have left. Don't trust Marcus. He'll come looking. Destroy the collar if you can. But whatever you do, don't let him bite you." The journal slipped from Sarah's fingers and hit the floor. Brother. The word didn't make sense. She was an only child. Her mother had raised her alone, never mentioning a father, never hinting at siblings. Sarah had spent her childhood in this house, and there had never been anyone else. She looked back at the pup, and it stared at her with those impossible eyes. "No," Sarah said. "No, that's insane." But her mother had been many things: distant, secretive, paranoid, but not insane. And someone had put this animal down here. Someone had fed it, kept it alive, and scratched those desperate marks into the door trying to get out. Sarah approached the salt circle slowly. The pup didn't move, didn't growl or show teeth. It just watched her with an intensity that made her heart race. "If you're going to eat me, just get it over with, she said, and stepped across the line. Nothing happened. No flash of light, no magical barrier. Just salt on concrete. The pup whined and strained against the chain, not aggressive but desperate. Up close, she could see how thin it was, ribs showing through its matted coat. The silver collar had rubbed its neck raw. Sarah knelt down, close enough to touch. This is crazy. You're just a wolf. A very weird, very illegal wolf, but still. The pup pushed its head against her hand. And Sarah felt it, a jolt of recognition so strong it was almost physical. Like meeting someone you'd known in a dream. The feeling was overwhelming, undeniable, and completely terrifying. With trembling fingers, she reached for the collar's buckle. The silver was tarnished and felt warm beneath her touch, almost vibrating. The moment she unclasped it, the collar fell away. The pup shuddered and let out a sound between a whine and a gasp of relief. And that's when Sarah saw it. On the left side of the pup's neck, where the collar had been, was a birthmark. Not a natural wolf marking, but something specific, 6 small dots arranged in a pattern she knew by heart because she'd traced it on her own body 1,000 times. The constellation Cassiopeia. Exactly like the birthmark on her left shoulder. Sarah sat back hard on the concrete floor, her mind reeling. The pup, her brother, if her mother's journal was telling the truth, looked up at her with those heartbreakingly human eyes. "Oh God," she breathed. "What did she do to you?" A sound echoed from upstairs. The front door opening, footsteps in the hallway. "Sarah?" A male voice, unfamiliar and smooth. "Sarah Brennan? Your mother's lawyer asked me to check on you." The name's Marcus. The pup's ears flattened against its head, and a low growl rumbled from its chest, the first truly animal sound it had made. Sarah's hand instinctively went to the broken chain, her mother's final warning echoing in her mind, "Don't trust Marcus." She looked at the stairs, then back at the pup, at her brother, and made a decision she didn't fully understand. "Stay quiet," she whispered, and reached for the journal. The footsteps were getting closer, heading toward the basement door. Wanting to see what would happen next, subscribe to this channel to get to listen to more of our upcoming exciting stories. Click on the subscribe button now. Thank you. Chapter 2. Sarah had exactly 30 seconds to decide what to do before Marcus reached the basement. She grabbed the journal, shoved it into her jacket, and scooped up the pup. He was heavier than she expected, solid muscle beneath the matted fur, but he didn't struggle. Instead, he pressed against her chest like he understood they were hiding. The footsteps stopped at the top of the basement stairs. "Sarah? You down there?" Marcus's voice was friendly, concerned. Everything about it made her skin crawl. She looked around frantically. The basement had no other exit, no windows. They were trapped. Unless... Sarah spotted the old coal chute in the corner, boarded over but loose. She'd noticed it earlier. Without thinking, she crossed the room in 3 quick strides and kicked at the boards. The wood splintered, rotten from decades of moisture. "Sarah?" The door at the top of the stairs opened. She kicked again, harder, and the boards gave way. Cold air rushed in through the gap. The opening was small, barely big enough, but it led to the side yard. "Hold on," she whispered to the pup, and squeezed through. She heard Marcus's footsteps on the basement stairs as she pulled herself and the pup out into the overgrown grass. She didn't stop running until she reached her car, parked 2 blocks away. The pup, she couldn't keep thinking of him as just the pup, not after what her mother had written, sat in the passenger seat and watched the road with those unsettling blue eyes. "I'm calling you Ash," Sarah said, needing to fill the silence. "Because that's what this whole situation is about to become if I don't figure out what's going on." Ash tilted his head. "Don't do that. Don't act like you understand me." He kept staring at her. Sarah gripped the steering wheel tighter and focused on driving back to her apartment in Philadelphia. It was small, a 1-bedroom on the 3rd floor of a converted row house, and she'd signed the lease specifically because it didn't allow pets. This is temporary, she told Ash as she carried him up the stairs, wrapped in her jacket. I'm going to figure out what Mom was involved in, and then I'm going to find you a proper facility. Or something. Even as she said it, she knew she was lying. For 3 days, Sarah called in sick to work and did nothing but read her mother's journal and watch Ash. He healed impossibly fast. The raw patches on his neck from the collar faded to pink skin within 24 hours. He ate the raw chicken she bought from the grocery store with disturbingly good manners, never making a mess, always waiting for her to set the bowl down before approaching. And he was smart. Too smart. When she told him to stay off the furniture, he did. When she said, "Come here," he came. When she was reading and started crying, because her mother's journal was full of confessions and apologies and desperate, futile plans, he rested his head on her knee. The journal told a story Sarah wasn't ready to believe. Her mother, Eleanor Brennan, born Eleanor Blackthorne, had come from a family cursed for 7 generations. A bloodline of werewolves, though her mother never used that word. She wrote about the lunar affliction and the beast inheritance like clinical terms. The curse follows the male line, one entry read. Daughters are carriers but never transform. Sons shift with the moon whether they want to or not. By their 18th birthday, the transformation becomes permanent unless they learn control. Most never do. Most go feral. Eleanor had run from her family, changed her name, and tried to live a normal life. She'd had Sarah with a human man who never knew what Eleanor carried in her blood. But then, years later, she'd gone back. She'd had another child with someone from the Blackthorne family. Sarah couldn't find a name in the journal, just references to his father and the arrangement. I thought I could raise him human, Eleanor had written. I thought the collar would suppress the wolf entirely, keep him safe. I was wrong. The curse isn't something you can starve. It's in his bones, his blood, his soul. And I've kept him trapped between forms for 16 years. God forgive me, I've made him neither boy nor wolf. I've made him a prisoner. Sarah closed the journal and looked at Ash, who was sleeping on the rug near the window, a patch of afternoon sunlight warming his fur. 16 years. Her mother had kept him locked in that basement for 16 years. The rage came sudden and sharp. Sarah had spent her whole childhood in that house, never knowing her brother was suffering in the basement. Her mother had lied to her, hidden him, let Sarah grow up alone while he was chained in the dark. I'm sorry, she whispered to Ash. I'm so sorry I didn't know. He opened one eye, looked at her, and went back to sleep. On the 4th day, Marcus called. Sarah stared at her phone, watching it ring, debating whether to answer. She'd been avoiding him since the house, but he was persistent. 11 missed calls. 15 texts. Finally, she picked up. Where have you been? Marcus didn't sound friendly anymore. He sounded scared. Sarah, I need to talk to you about your mother. I don't know you, Sarah said carefully. You said you were her lawyer, but I've met her lawyer. Who are you really? A pause. I'm someone who's trying to help you. Your mother asked me to watch over you if anything happened to her. Watch over me, or watch me. Sarah, please. I know you found something in that house. I know you took it. And I need you to understand, there are people looking for what your mother was hiding. Dangerous people. If you have it, you need to let me help protect it. Sarah's blood went cold. You mean protect him? She heard Marcus exhale. So you do know. Good. That makes this easier. Sarah, that animal is not a pet. It's not even really an animal. Your mother was part of something much bigger than you realize, and she made a lot of people very angry when she took. He's my brother. Silence. He's my brother, Sarah repeated, her voice steadier now. And whatever you and your dangerous people want with him, you're not getting it. Sarah, you don't understand what you're dealing with. She hung up and immediately turned off her phone. Ash was sitting up now, alert, staring at her with an intensity that made her nervous. We need to leave, Sarah said. I don't know where, but we need to. Ash growled, low and warning, his eyes fixed on the door. Sarah heard it a second later, footsteps in the hallway. Multiple sets. Moving with purpose. Damn it. She grabbed her keys and her mother's journal, shoved them in her bag. Come on. Fire escape. Now. But before she could move, something heavy slammed against her apartment door. Once, twice. The lock splintered. Ash positioned himself between Sarah and the door, hackles raised, teeth bared. For the first time, he looked like what he was supposed to be, a predator. The door burst open. 3 men filled the doorway, all wearing dark clothes, all carrying tranquilizer guns. Easy, Ms. Brennan, the first one said. He was older, gray-haired, with cold eyes. We're not here to hurt you. We just need the wolf. Get out of my apartment. Your mother stole something that belongs to our family. We've been looking for it for a very long time. His gaze shifted to Ash. Hello, cousin. It's time to come home. Ash lunged. It happened so fast Sarah barely saw it. One moment he was beside her, the next he was airborne, 60 pounds of fury and teeth. The lead man stumbled back, and one of the others fired the tranquilizer gun. The dart hit Ash mid-leap. He yelped, twisted, and crashed to the floor. No. Sarah dropped beside him, her hands in his fur. What did you do? Just put him to sleep. The gray-haired man stepped into her apartment, and the other 2 fanned out. He'll be fine. We need him healthy. You're not taking him. Ms. Brennan, you have no idea what that creature is capable of. Your mother tried to suppress his nature, but she only delayed the inevitable. In less than 2 years, he'll undergo his first full transformation. And when he does, without training, without the pack, he'll kill everything in his path. Including you. Sarah's hand found Ash's heartbeat, fast but steady beneath her palm. You're lying. Your mother's journal will tell you I'm not. The Blackthorn curse isn't a gift, it's a weapon. And it needs to be controlled. He gestured to his men. Take him. Sarah didn't think. She just reacted. Her hand closed around the heavy glass vase on her coffee table, and she swung it at the nearest man's head. It shattered on impact, and he went down. The other man grabbed for her, but Sarah was already moving, adrenaline overriding common sense. She kicked hard, caught him in the knee, and he stumbled. Impressive, the gray-haired man said, and raised his tranquilizer gun. But ultimately pointless. Sarah felt the dart hit her shoulder, a sharp sting followed by immediate numbness. Her legs gave out. The last thing she saw before the darkness took her was Ash, still unconscious on the floor, and the gray-haired man standing over them both. Sarah woke to the smell of antiseptic and the sound of frantic beeping. She opened her eyes slowly, her head pounding. She was lying on an examination table in what looked like a veterinary clinic. Bright lights. Stainless steel. Medical equipment. And standing over her, looking panicked and guilty, was Marcus. Sarah. Thank God. He helped her sit up. I'm so sorry. I didn't know they were going to move that fast. I tried to warn you. Sarah shoved him away, nearly falling off the table. Where is he? Where's Ash? He's here. He's safe. Marcus gestured to a large kennel in the corner of the room. Through the bars, Sarah could see gray fur, rising and falling with breath. I convinced them to let me examine him first. Told them I needed to make sure he was healthy before transport. Transport where? Back to the Blackthorn compound. In upstate New York. Marcus ran a hand through his hair. Sarah, I need to tell you something. I'm not just a veterinarian. I'm part of this world. I've been studying the Blackthorn bloodline for years, trying to find a way to break the curse. Why? Because I'm one of them. A Blackthorn. A carrier, like you, the curse skipped me, made me human, but I've watched it destroy my cousins, my brothers. I've been working with your mother for the past 5 years, trying to save him." He nodded toward Ash. She didn't want this life for him. Neither do I. Sarah's mind was reeling. "What are you saying?" "I'm saying we have a chance. Right now, while he's still in wolf form, before his 18th birthday. I've developed something, a treatment that might stabilize his transformations, let him control them instead of being controlled by them. But I need your permission. And I need your help." "Why would I trust you?" "Because I'm the only one who wants the same thing you do, to give him a choice." Marcus met her eyes. "Everyone else sees him as property or a weapon. Your mother saw him as a problem to contain. I see him as a person who deserves a life." Sarah looked at Ash, sleeping in the kennel. "What do you need to do?" "Blood work. Samples. And I need to keep him here for observation through the next full moon, which is in 3 days." Marcus pulled out a syringe and a collection vial. "The transformation will happen whether we're ready or not. But if my treatment works, he'll be able to remember his human hours. He'll be able to choose which form he takes. He'll be free." Sarah wanted to believe him. God, she wanted to believe someone knew how to fix this. "And if it doesn't work?" Marcus didn't answer, which was answer enough. "Fine," Sarah said. "But I'm staying with him. Every second. If you try anything, I won't." Marcus began prepping his equipment. "I swear, Sarah. I'm on your side." She watched him work for the next 2 hours, drawing blood, running tests, examining Ash with a gentleness that surprised her. The results came back on his computer screen, endless chains of DNA sequences and markers she didn't understand. But she understood Marcus's face when he read them. "What?" Sarah demanded. "What's wrong?" "Nothing's wrong. It's just..." He turned the screen toward her. "His DNA is remarkable. It's not just human and canine genetics spliced together, it's something else entirely. Something that shouldn't be possible. He's carrying markers I've never seen before, even in full-blood blackthorns." "What does that mean?" "It means he's not going to be like other werewolves." Marcus looked at Ash with something close to awe. The curse usually manifests in violent, uncontrollable transformations. But his genetic structure suggests he might have more control, more awareness than any blackthorn in generations. Your mother's suppression therapy, as cruel as it was, might have actually changed how the curse developed in him. Before Sarah could process that, Marcus's phone rang. He looked at the caller ID and went pale. "We have a problem." "What kind of problem?" "The kind where I need to get all of Ash's records out of this clinic's system right now." Marcus was already typing frantically on his computer. "That was my contact at the Blackthorn estate. They're sending someone to retrieve the blood work. Someone high up in the family hierarchy. Can't you just tell them you didn't find anything? They'll check. They'll tear this whole clinic apart if they think I'm hiding something." He pulled a flash drive from his pocket and started downloading files. "Sarah, take Ash and go. Now. I'll buy you time, but you need to run." "Where am I supposed to go?" "Anywhere but here. Anywhere they won't think to look." He handed her the flash drive. "Everything I've learned is on here. My treatment protocol, the research, everything. If something happens to me, you'll need it." Sarah took the drive with shaking hands. "Marcus. Go." She didn't argue. She ran to the kennel, opened it, and coaxed the still groggy Ash out. He leaned heavily against her legs as they moved toward the clinic's back door. They were halfway through the parking lot when Sarah heard the sound of tires screeching to a halt behind them. "Stop right there, Ms. Brennan." Sarah turned to see the gray-haired man from her apartment, flanked by 4 more men. They'd found the clinic. They'd found them. "You're making this much harder than it needs to be," he said, walking toward them slowly. "The boy belongs with his pack." "He's not a boy." He's a wolf, Sarah said, because she still didn't fully believe her mother's journal. The gray-haired man smiled. Is he? He checked his watch, and Sarah noticed for the first time that it was dark. Late. She'd been unconscious longer than she realized. Midnight, the man said. Right on schedule. Ash made a sound Sarah had never heard before, something between a whimper and a scream. He collapsed, his body convulsing. What's happening? Sarah dropped beside him, terror flooding through her. What's wrong with him? Nothing's wrong. He's transforming. The gray-haired man crouched down, watching with clinical interest. This is what your mother's collar prevented for 16 years. This is what he really is. Sarah watched in horror as Ash's body began to change. His fur rippled and receded. His bones cracked and reformed. His muzzle shortened, his paws elongated. The transformation was violent, wrong, like watching something be torn apart and put back together in the wrong order. And then, where Ash had been, there was a boy. Naked, unconscious, and maybe 17 or 18 years old, but human. Completely, undeniably human. He had dark hair, sharp features, and that same constellation birthmark on his neck. He looked nothing like Sarah, but she could see Eleanor in the shape of his face. Oh my God, Sarah breathed. The gray-haired man stood. Now do you understand? He's not a wolf, Ms. Brennan. He's a blackthorn. And he's coming with us. Sarah looked at her brother, and he was her brother, she could see it now, lying vulnerable and exposed on the cold pavement. She thought about her mother's journal, about 16 years of imprisonment, about silver collars and basement chains. No, she said. He's not. She didn't have a plan. She didn't have a weapon. She just had fury and fear and the absolute certainty that she would not let these men take him. But before anyone could move, the boy's eyes opened. They were blue, the same impossible blue as Ash's wolf eyes. He looked around, confused and frightened, and then his gaze locked on Sarah. Who are you? He whispered, his voice hoarse from disuse. Where am I? And Sarah realized with sinking dread that he had no memory. No idea that he'd spent 16 years as a wolf. No idea who she was or who he was or what was happening to him. It's okay, she said, moving slowly. I'm Sarah. I'm your... Enough, the gray-haired man interrupted. Boy, come here. It's time to go home. The boy looked at him, then back at Sarah. Something flickered in his expression, recognition without context, instinct without understanding. Don't listen to him, Sarah said desperately. Please. Just trust me. The boy stared at her for a long moment. And then he stood, stumbled, caught himself. And he moved toward her, not away. The gray-haired man's expression hardened. Seize them both. His men moved forward, but suddenly Marcus was there, bursting out of the clinic's back door with a fire extinguisher in hand. He sprayed a white cloud of foam directly into the nearest man's face. Run! Marcus shouted. Sarah grabbed the boy's hand, her brother's hand, and ran. They made it to her car. She shoved him into the passenger seat, not caring that he was naked and confused and probably in shock. She started the engine and peeled out of the parking lot just as the gray-haired man's hand reached for her door handle. In the rearview mirror, she saw Marcus go down under the weight of 3 men. We have to go back, the boy said, his voice stronger now. We have to help him. We can't. Sarah's hands were shaking on the wheel. We have to get away from here. We have to. She didn't know how to finish that sentence. Get away where? Do what? She had a teenage boy who turned into a wolf at dawn, a flash drive full of research she didn't understand, and an entire family of werewolves hunting them. The boy was staring at his hands, turning them over like he'd never seen them before. What am I? He whispered. What's happening to me? Sarah swallowed hard. I don't know. But we're going to figure it out. She drove through the city streets with no destination, just the desperate need to put distance between them and the clinic. The boy sat silent beside her, watching the world pass by the window with an expression of wonder and terror. At a red light, Sarah looked at him properly for the first time. He was thin, underfed, with scars on his wrists where the chains had been. But there was something else. A wildness in his eyes, a tension in his shoulders, like he was ready to bolt at any second. "Do you remember anything?" Sarah asked quietly. "Anything at all?" He was quiet for so long she thought he wouldn't answer. Then, dark. "I remember dark. And cold. And someone singing." He looked at her. "Was that you?" Sarah's throat tightened. "No. That was our mother." "Mother." He tested the word. "I don't. I can't. It's okay. You don't have to remember right now." But even as she said it, Sarah knew he would have to remember eventually. Because in a few hours, when the sun came up, he would transform back into a wolf. And she had no idea if he would still be him when he did. She drove until she found a 24-hour pharmacy, where she bought him clothes with cash. He changed in the car, moving awkwardly, like he wasn't used to having hands. The jeans and t-shirt hung loose on his thin frame. "What's my name?" he asked as Sarah pulled back onto the road. Sarah realized she'd never asked him. Her mother's journal had never mentioned it. He'd just been the boy, or the curse, or my son. "I've been calling you Ash," she said. "But if you want something else." "Ash." He said it slowly, feeling the shape of it. "Ash." "Okay. That's okay." They drove until the sky started to lighten, and Sarah pulled into an empty rest stop off the highway. She parked in the back corner, away from the few scattered cars. "It's almost dawn," she said. Ash looked at his hands again. "And then what happens?" I think you change back." "Into what?" Sarah couldn't bring herself to say it. "You'll see." They sat in silence as the sun crept over the horizon. Ash's breathing got faster, panicked. "I can feel it. Something's wrong. Something's." His body jerked forward, and the transformation began again. This time, Sarah watched the whole thing. Watched the boy disappear and the wolf emerge. It was faster than before, more controlled, but still violent. Still wrong. When it was over, Ash the wolf sat in the passenger seat, panting, looking at Sarah with those two human eyes. "Hey," Sarah whispered. "You okay?" The wolf made a soft sound, not quite a whine, not quite a whimper. He butted his head against her shoulder, and Sarah wrapped her arms around him. "We're going to figure this out," she promised. "I don't know how, but we will. You're not going to be trapped like this forever. And you're not going back to that basement. I swear it." Ash pressed closer, and Sarah held her brother, both versions of him, and tried to figure out what the hell they were going to do next. Because Marcus was captured. The Blackthorns were hunting them. And somewhere out there, someone knew exactly what Ash was and exactly what he could become. And Sarah had a sinking feeling that midnight transformations and genetic anomalies were just the beginning of what she was about to discover about her family's curse. If you're still listening to this story up to this point, why don't you subscribe to this channel to continue getting impactful daily stories like this? We would be most grateful if you can do that to help boost this video to reach everyone. Thank you. Chapter 3. Sarah bought the cameras at an electronics store in Delaware, 3 states away from Philadelphia. She paid cash and wore a baseball cap pulled low. The teenage clerk didn't even look up from his phone. Back in the motel room, their third in 5 days, she set up the cameras facing the worn couch where Ash slept in wolf form. One wide angle, one close-up. If she was going to help him, she needed to understand what happened during those hours he was human. Ash watched her work with alert eyes, his ears swiveling to track every movement. "I know this feels invasive," Sarah said, adjusting the final camera. "But you said you wanted to know." The human you. This is how we figure it out. She'd started thinking of them as separate people, Ash the wolf, who was present and aware, and Ash the boy, who existed only between midnight and dawn with no memory of his other life. It was easier than accepting they were the same person, fractured and incomplete. The wolf made a soft chuffing sound that Sarah had learned meant agreement. Okay. She checked her watch. 11:47 p.m. 13 minutes. I'm going to be in the bathroom with the door cracked. I'll be able to see you, but I won't interfere unless something goes wrong. She'd learned that the transformation was easier when she wasn't watching directly. Something about privacy, maybe, or instinct. The first night in the motel, when she tried to stay beside him, he'd been agitated, pacing and whining until she backed away. Sarah settled on the bathroom floor with her mother's journal and tried to focus on reading. But her eyes kept drifting to the crack in the door, watching the digital clock on the nightstand tick down. Midnight. The transformation never got easier to hear. The sound of bones breaking and reforming, the sharp intake of breath that was neither entirely human nor entirely animal. Sarah pressed her hands over her ears and counted to 60. When she looked again, the boy was sitting on the couch, naked and disoriented, blinking at the motel room like he'd never seen it before. Hello? His voice was hoarse. Is someone here? Sarah stayed quiet, barely breathing. She'd left clothes folded on the coffee table. That was as much help as she could offer without disrupting whatever this was. The boy found the clothes and dressed slowly, fumbling with the zipper on the jeans. He moved around the room carefully, touching things, the lampshade, the remote control, the curtains. Like a person learning the world for the first time. Then he found the photographs. Sarah had left them scattered on the table, mixed with her mother's journal and the research she'd been compiling. Pictures of Eleanor, of the Victorian house, of Sarah herself at various ages. The boy picked up a photo of Sarah from her college graduation. He stared at it for a long time, his expression complex, confusion, recognition, something that looked like grief. I know you, he whispered to the photograph. Don't I? Sarah's chest tightened. He set the photo down and found the notebook she'd left out, blank pages, an invitation. The pen was beside it. She watched him sit at the small table and start to write. His handwriting was shaky, unpracticed. Like a child learning to form letters. Who am I? Why do I only exist in darkness? Please help me remember. He sat there for 3 hours, writing questions, crossing them out, writing more. Sometimes he'd stand and pace, moving to the window to stare out at the empty parking lot. Once, he stood in front of the bathroom door for so long Sarah was certain he could sense her there. But he never tried to open it. At 4:37 a.m., he lay down on the couch. By 5:02, he was asleep. Sarah watched the rest on fast forward the next morning, after Ash had transformed back into a wolf. The boy sleeping, his chest rising and falling. Then, at 5:58 a.m., the convulsions beginning again. The transformation back. By 6:03, the wolf was awake, looking around the room with obvious confusion about the clothes discarded on the floor and the notebook filled with desperate questions. Did you watch? Ash's wolf eyes found the cameras, then found her. Sarah nodded. Do you want to see? She played the footage for him, all of it, while he sat utterly still beside her. When it ended, he made a sound that broke her heart, something between a whimper and a howl. I'm sorry, Sarah said. I know this is. Ash nosed her hand, then moved to the notebook. He couldn't write in wolf form, but he could read. She watched him read his own questions, his own handwriting, from a version of himself he would never meet. That night, Sarah left a response in the notebook. Your name is Ash. You're 17 years old. You're my brother. And I promise I'm going to help you remember. She shouldn't have been surprised when the boy wrote back. Brother? But I don't remember you. I don't remember anything except these few hours. It's like I'm born at midnight and die at dawn, every single day. Is this hell? Did I do something terrible? Please, if you're really my sister, tell me who I was. Tell me why this is happening." Sarah read his words with tears streaming down her face. Ash the wolf pressed against her leg, offering comfort he couldn't give himself. "I don't have all the answers yet," she told him. "But I'm getting there." That was partly true. The answers were in Eleanor's journal, but each entry Sarah read made her feel sicker. Her mother had been part of something called the Silver Order, an organization that had existed for over 300 years, dedicated to hunting and containing supernatural threats. Werewolves, primarily, but the journal hinted at other things. Vampires. Shapeshifters. Things that had no names. The Silver Order didn't operate in the open. They were doctors, lawyers, veterinarians, teachers, people embedded in normal society, watching and waiting. When they identified a supernatural being, they either contained it or eliminated it. Eleanor had been a researcher, a scientist within the order. Her specialty was the Blackthorn bloodline. The Blackthorns are the oldest werewolf family in North America, one entry read. Their curse dates back to the 1700s, a punishment for sins I haven't been able to fully document. Unlike other lycanthropes, Blackthorn wolves retain human intelligence even in wolf form. They can control their transformations with training. They're dangerous not because they're mindless beasts, but because they're thinking, planning predators. The current alpha, Marcus Blackthorn Sr., has been breeding his pack deliberately, trying to create a perfect werewolf, one who can shift at will, who feels no pain during transformation, who can pass as human indefinitely. His experiments have been unsuccessful. Most of his children die before reaching maturity. Those who survive are unstable. Sarah had to stop reading for a minute. Marcus Blackthorn Sr., was that the gray-haired man? Or was that Marcus, the veterinarian who tried to help them? She forced herself to continue. 3 months ago, the order raided the Blackthorn compound. We knew Marcus Sr.'s mate had recently given birth to twins, a boy and a girl. According to our intelligence, the boy was already showing signs of the curse. Marcus Sr. planned to train him as his successor. I made a choice during that raid. I took both infants. The order's protocol was clear: contain or kill. But I couldn't kill babies. I couldn't. I gave the girl to a family in Philadelphia, the Brennans, good people who'd been trying to adopt for years. They never knew what she was or where she came from. I told them she'd been abandoned. I kept the boy. I told myself I was saving him, that I could study the curse and find a cure. But the truth is darker than that. I kept him because I needed to understand how the Blackthorn curse worked. I kept him because the order wanted a weapon, and I thought I could give them something better, a werewolf under complete control. I put the silver collar on him when he was 3 months old, before his first transformation. I've kept him in it for 16 years, suppressing his wolf nature, keeping him trapped in animal form. I told myself it was mercy. That never knowing what he could be was better than becoming a monster. But I was wrong. God forgive me, I was wrong about everything. Sarah's hands were shaking so badly she almost dropped the journal. The girl. The Brennans. She looked at her own adoption papers, which she'd found in Eleanor's safe deposit box. Sarah Brennan. Born March 15th. No birth parents listed. No medical history. She'd always known she was adopted. The Brennans had been open about it, loving about it. Sarah had never felt the need to search for her biological parents because she'd had everything she needed. Except she hadn't been abandoned. She'd been stolen. And Eleanor, the woman she'd called mom for 27 years, had stolen her. Sarah ran to the bathroom and threw up. It took her 3 days to process it. 3 days of reading and rereading the journal, of checking and rechecking the dates, of staring at Ash and seeing not just her brother but her twin. They'd been born together. Stolen together. Separated because Eleanor had decided Sarah deserved a normal life and Ash deserved to be a science experiment. On the 3rd night, Sarah wrote in the notebook. I need to tell you something, and I don't know how to make it easier. Your name is Asher Blackthorn. You're 17 years old. In 3 days, you turn 18. And when you do, something is going to happen to you, something permanent. The woman who kept you locked up for 16 years was named Eleanor Brennan. She stole you from your real family when you were 3 months old. She put a silver collar on you to suppress your transformations, to keep you as a wolf so she could study you. I didn't know. I swear I didn't know. You're a werewolf. That's what the transformations are. That's why you're like this. And on your 18th birthday, your body is going to complete the change. You'll become what's called an alpha werewolf, more powerful, more dangerous, but also more in control. I'm still researching what that means. I'm still trying to figure out how to help you. But there's something else you need to know. We're not just brother and sister. We're twins. Eleanor stole both of us. She gave me to another family to raise as a normal human. She kept you to experiment on. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. Your sister. Sarah. That night, Sarah couldn't bring herself to watch the footage. She stayed in the bathroom with the door closed, her back against it, while Ash read her letter. She heard him moving around the room. Heard something shatter, a glass, maybe, or the lamp. Heard a sound that might have been crying or might have been rage. At 3 a.m., he knocked on the bathroom door. Please, his voice was rough. Please come out. I need to see you. Sarah opened the door slowly. The boy, Asher, stood in the middle of the destroyed motel room. He'd torn the curtains down, overturned the table, smashed the mirror. His hands were bleeding from the glass. And he was staring at her like she was the only real thing in his world. Say it again, he whispered. Tell me again that I'm not alone. Sarah stepped toward him carefully. You're not alone. You have me. I'm your sister, and I'm not going anywhere. Twin. He said it like he was testing the word. We were born together. Yes. And she kept you. Gave me away. His voice broke. No. She kept me. Kept me in the dark. Kept me as what? An animal? I don't think she understood what she was doing, Sarah said, though the words felt like lies. I think she was trying to. Don't defend her. Asher's eyes flashed, and for a second, Sarah saw something wild in them. Something not quite human. Don't you dare defend what she did to me. I'm not. I just. 18, he interrupted. You said I turn 18 in 3 days. What happens then? Sarah swallowed. I don't know exactly. The journal says you'll undergo your final transformation. You'll become an alpha werewolf. But Eleanor died before she could finish her research, and I don't. Will I still be me? His voice was desperate now. After this final transformation, will I still be able to think? To remember? Or will I just be a wolf forever? I don't know. Then find out. He grabbed her shoulders, not hard enough to hurt but hard enough to make his point. I have 3 days. 3 days to figure out who I am and what I want to be, and then I might lose everything. Help me. Please. Sarah looked at him, really looked at him. At the sharp angles of his face that matched hers. At the blue eyes that were her mother's eyes, their biological mother, whoever she'd been. At the constellation birthmark on his neck that was identical to the one on her shoulder. I'll find out, she promised. We'll figure this out together. Asher released her and stepped back, running his shaking hands through his dark hair. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to grab you. I don't know my own strength. I don't know anything about myself. It's okay. I understand. Do you? He laughed, bitter and broken. Do you understand what it's like to exist only in shadow? To wake up every night not knowing who you are or where you came from? I get 5 hours, Sarah. 5 hours a day to be human. And now you're telling me I might not even get that much longer. Sarah didn't have an answer for that. They spent the rest of the night in tense silence. Asher wrote in the notebook, pages and pages of questions, observations, desperate attempts to leave something of himself behind for the wolf he'd become at dawn. At 5:45 a.m., he looked at Sarah with exhausted eyes. "I don't want to go back," he said. "I don't want to forget this." "Forget you." "I know. If I transform into an alpha and I lose my human side completely, promise me you'll stop me. Promise me you won't let me hurt anyone. Asher. Promise me." "I promise," Sarah lied, because what else could she do? At 6 a.m., he transformed. Sarah watched it this time, forcing herself to witness every second. Watched Asher's body break and rebuild itself. Watched the boy disappear and the wolf emerge. And when it was over, Ash looked at her with those two aware eyes and pressed his muzzle into her palm. They had 3 days. Sarah spent every waking hour researching. She read Eleanor's journal cover to cover 3 more times, taking notes, cross-referencing dates. She used the flash drive Marcus had given her, which contained decades of research on the Blackthorn curse. The picture it painted was complex and terrifying. The Blackthorn curse wasn't just lycanthropy. It was a specific, bloodline-bound affliction that had been modified over generations. Marcus Blackthorn Sr., the current alpha, had been deliberately breeding his pack to create stronger, more controllable werewolves. The transformation that happened at age 18 wasn't just puberty. It was the curse activating fully, permanently altering the person's DNA. After that point, there was no going back. They were werewolf, fully and completely. Most Blackthorn wolves went feral during their first full transformation. The pain, the loss of humanity, the sudden surge of predatory instincts, it was too much. They lost themselves and had to be hunted down by their own pack. But alphas were different. Alphas were wolves strong enough to survive the transformation with their humanity intact. They could shift at will. They could lead packs. They could, theoretically, live normal lives while also being apex predators. Marcus Sr. had been trying to create more alphas. That's what all the breeding was for. That's what Asher was supposed to be. Sarah found a note in the margins of Marcus's research. The silver suppression method may actually increase alpha potential. By preventing early transformations, we force the curse to build pressure. When it finally releases, the resulting werewolf could be the strongest we've ever seen. Eleanor had been doing Marcus Sr.'s work for him without realizing it. By keeping Asher in wolf form for 16 years, by suppressing his transformations with the silver collar, she'd been creating exactly what the Blackthorns wanted, a perfect alpha. Sarah's stomach turned. But there was something else in the research. Something Eleanor had circled and marked with question marks. Female Blackthorn carriers typically don't transform. The curse follows the male line exclusively. However, there are exceptions in cases of twin births. If the male twin transforms, the female twin may experience sympathetic symptoms, enhanced strength, improved healing, heightened senses. In rare cases, 3 documented in 300 years, the female twin transforms as well. Sarah read that paragraph 10 times. Then she looked at her own hands, her own body, searching for signs of the curse. She'd always been stronger than she looked. Always healed from injuries faster than seemed normal. And since Eleanor's death, since she'd found Ash, she'd been experiencing strange symptoms, heightened senses, a restlessness she couldn't name, dreams of running through forests on 4 legs. Her 18th birthday had been 6 months ago. March 15th. She'd celebrated with the Brennans at a quiet dinner, never knowing she was supposed to have a twin brother, never knowing she was supposed to transform. So why hadn't she? Sarah pulled out her phone and opened the calculator app. If she and Asher were born March 15th, and she'd turned 18 in March, that meant. Her blood ran cold. Asher's birthday wasn't in 3 days. It was today. The journal entries had been confusing about dates, written in Eleanor's increasingly erratic handwriting. Sarah had misread them. Or maybe Eleanor had been deliberately vague. Sarah checked the time, 11:47 p.m. 13 minutes until midnight. 13 minutes until Asher's 18th birthday. 13 minutes until his final transformation. Oh my God. Sarah ran to Ash, who was sleeping on the bed. Wake up. We have to go. We have to. But even as she spoke, she knew they couldn't run. The transformation would happen wherever they were. All she could do was be there for him. At midnight, Sarah held the notebook out where Asher could see it. She'd written one final message. Today is your 18th birthday. Whatever happens tonight, I'm here. I'm not leaving you. You're not alone. I love you, brother. The transformation started differently this time. Asher emerged from the wolf form screaming. His body was changing wrong, not the usual smooth shift from animal to human, but something violent and chaotic. His bones were breaking in too many places. His skin was rippling with fur that appeared and disappeared. Sarah. He reached for her, his hands shifting between human and claws. Something's wrong. Something's. His words cut off in a howl that was purely animal. Sarah watched in horror as Asher's body went through transformation after transformation, unable to settle on one form. Wolf, human, something in between. His eyes were wild, unfocused, no recognition in them. This was it. This was the feral transformation Marcus's research had warned about. Asher was losing himself. No, Sarah said. No, you stay with me. Asher, listen to my voice. You're stronger than this. You're. He lunged at her, all fangs and fury. Sarah didn't think. She just moved. And her body moved faster than should have been possible. She dodged Asher's attack, twisted, grabbed his arm, which was shifting between human and wolf, and threw him across the room with strength she didn't know she had. Asher crashed into the wall and slid to the floor, momentarily stunned. Sarah stared at her hands. They were glowing, actually glowing, with a faint silvery light. And she could feel something building inside her, something wild and powerful and wrong. No. Not wrong. Right. The curse. Her curse. Oh no, Sarah whispered, just as her own body began to change. The pain was indescribable. Every bone breaking, every muscle tearing and rebuilding. She fell to her knees, screaming, and distantly heard Asher screaming too. They were transforming together. Twin curses, twin transformations, happening simultaneously after years of suppression. Sarah's last coherent thought before the wolf took over was, this is going to break us both. And then there was only instinct, pain, and the desperate need to survive. If you're still listening to this story up to this point, why don't you subscribe to this channel to continue getting impactful daily stories like this? We would be most grateful if you can do that to help boost this video to reach everyone. Thank you. Chapter 4. When Sarah woke, she was naked, covered in blood, and lying on the floor of a motel room that looked like a bomb had gone through it. Her first coherent thought was, I'm alive. Her second was, where's Asher? She sat up slowly, her body aching in ways she'd never experienced. Every muscle felt bruised, every bone felt like it had been shattered and badly reassembled. She looked down at her hands, human hands, normal hands, and saw dried blood under her fingernails. The room was destroyed. Furniture overturned, walls gouged with claw marks, the door hanging off its hinges. And in the corner, curled up and shaking, was a wolf. Ash. Asher? Sarah's voice came out hoarse. The wolf's head lifted, and those blue eyes met hers. But there was something different about them now. More aware. More present. Sarah grabbed the torn bedsheet and wrapped it around herself as she crossed to him. She knelt down slowly, giving him space. Are you okay? Do you remember what happened? Ash made a soft sound, not quite a whine, not quite a whimper. And then, impossibly, he pushed an image into her mind. It wasn't words. It was more like a feeling, a memory, a flash of sensation, the two of them transforming together, two wolves fighting and running and destroying everything in their path, until finally exhaustion took them both. Sarah gasped. Can we? Another image, yes. Oh my God. Sarah sat back on her heels. You can communicate. You can actually communicate now. The change in Ash was subtle but undeniable. He still couldn't speak in wolf form, but there was a consciousness behind his eyes that hadn't been there before. Like the human side of him was no longer completely buried during daylight hours. Before Sarah could process what that meant, she heard footsteps outside the ruined door. Well, a woman's voice said, cultured and cold. This is quite the mess you've made. Sarah spun around to see a woman standing in the doorway, tall, elegant, with dark hair shot through with silver and eyes that were the same impossible blue as Ash's. She was maybe 50, dressed in expensive clothes that looked out of place in the dingy motel, and she radiated an authority that made Sarah's instincts scream danger. Who the hell are you? Sarah demanded, positioning herself between the woman and Ash. My name is Vera Blackthorn. The woman's gaze moved past Sarah to lock on Ash. And I'm here for my son. Sarah's blood turned to ice. I've been searching for my children for 18 years. Vera stepped into the room, moving with predatory grace. I've tracked you across 4 states, followed the trail of destruction and Silver Order agents. And now I've found you both. Her eyes shifted to Sarah. Hello, daughter. You have your father's eyes. Sarah felt like the ground had dropped out from under her. I don't. Don't bother denying it. I can smell my own blood. Vera moved closer, and Sarah caught a scent she couldn't name. Something wild and foreign and disturbingly familiar. You transformed last night. Both of you, together. I felt it, even miles away. The twin bond completing itself. Stay back, Sarah warned, but she didn't know what she'd do if Vera didn't listen. Vera smiled, showing teeth that were just slightly too sharp. Relax, Sarah. I'm not here to hurt you. I'm here to bring you home. We don't have a home. Yes, you do. The Blackthorn compound in upstate New York. Your birthright. Your pack. Vera's expression softened slightly. I know you're confused. I know Eleanor filled your head with lies about us being monsters. But we're your family. Your real family. Ash growled low in his chest, and Sarah felt that new connection between them vibrate with warning. Asher remembers me, Vera said quietly, looking at her son. Don't you, baby? Deep down, beneath all the years of suppression, you remember your mother's scent. Another image flashed through Sarah's mind, this time from Ash, a woman with dark hair holding a small bundle, singing softly in a language Sarah didn't know. A memory, ancient and buried. That's impossible, Sarah said. He was 3 months old when Eleanor took him. He can't remember. Werewolf memory is different from human memory. It lives in the blood, in the bone. He knows me, even if he doesn't understand how. Vera extended a hand toward Ash. Come here, Asher. It's time to come home. Ash didn't move. He pressed closer to Sarah instead, and she felt his fear and confusion through their bond. He's not going anywhere with you, Sarah said. Vera's expression hardened. You don't understand what you're dealing with. The Silver Order is hunting you. They know about Asher's birthday, about his transformation. They're coming, Sarah, and when they arrive, they won't show mercy to either of you. The Silver Order? Sarah's mind flashed to Eleanor's journal, to the organization her mother had belonged to. They're here? 23 agents descended on this town 3 hours ago. They're searching every motel, every house, every hiding place. Vera's voice was urgent now. They believe Asher is the Midnight King, a werewolf prophesied to unite all the packs and bring war to humanity. They'll kill him before they let that prophecy come true. That's insane. Asher isn't. He was born during a lunar eclipse, wasn't he? Sarah opened her mouth, then closed it. She didn't know. Eleanor's journal had never mentioned the exact circumstances of their birth. March 15th, 18 years ago, Vera continued. A blood moon, a full lunar eclipse. The first one in 50 years. Every supernatural creature on the eastern seaboard felt the power of that night. She looked at Ash with something that might have been pride. My son, born under the red moon. Of course the Silver Order wants him dead. He's everything they fear. You're talking about him like he's a weapon. I'm talking about him like he's an alpha. Like he's powerful and important and worth protecting. Vera's voice rose. Which is more than Eleanor ever did. She kept him chained in a basement, Sarah. She tortured him for 16 years in the name of science and control. And now you're going to defend her legacy? I'm not defending anything. I just met him a week ago. I just found out he existed. And yet you transformed for him. Vera's gaze was piercing. You underwent your first shift at 27 years old, years past when it should have happened, because your twin was in danger. That's not human love, Sarah. That's pack bond. That's wolf instinct. Whether you accept it or not, you're one of us. Sarah wanted to argue, but she couldn't. Because Vera was right about one thing, last night, when Asher was losing himself, Sarah's body had changed. She'd felt the curse activate, felt something wild and powerful take control. She'd transformed to save her brother. Even if all of that is true, Sarah said slowly, why should we trust you? You show up claiming to be our mother, but you're still a stranger. I can prove what I am. Vera reached into her jacket and pulled out a photograph, yellowed with age. This is you and Asher, 3 days after you were born. And this, she pointed to a younger version of herself in the photo, holding 2 infants, is me. Sarah took the photograph with shaking hands. The woman in the picture was unmistakably Vera, 20 years younger. And the babies. Sarah could see the constellation birthmark on one infant's neck, could see her own face in the other baby's features. Where did you get this? Sarah whispered. From my mate. From your father. Vera's expression went distant, pained. His name was Julian Blackthorne. He was the alpha before Marcus took control. And he died trying to get you back. The room seemed to tilt. Sarah gripped the photograph harder. Eleanor told the Silver Order she destroyed you both, Vera continued, her voice tight with old grief. That was the deal she made, kill the Alpha's children, prove her loyalty, and they'd let her live. But she couldn't do it. She kept you instead, hid you, and let Julian believe you were dead. Why? Sarah demanded. Why would she do that? Vera's laugh was bitter. Because she loved him. God help her, Eleanor loved your father. They met when she was sent to spy on the pack, to gather intelligence. She was supposed to report back to the Order with information to help destroy us. But instead, she fell in love. She got pregnant. And when the Order found out, they gave her an ultimatum, betray Julian or die with him. Sarah felt sick. She chose to betray him. She chose to survive. And in her twisted way, she thought she was saving you both. Taking you away from the monsters, raising you human. Vera's eyes were hard now. But Julian didn't see it that way. When he found out what she'd done, he came for her. He demanded his children back. And the Silver Order killed him for it. Ash made a sound, a keening whine that was full of pain Sarah could feel echoing in her own chest. Your father died believing you were dead, Vera said to them both. He died fighting Eleanor's Silver Order friends, trying to avenge children he thought were murdered. And Eleanor kept you locked away, pretending she was protecting you, when really she was just preserving her own sick experiment. Stop it, Sarah said. Just stop. I can't. You need to hear this. You need to understand what the Silver Order is capable of. Vera stepped closer. They're coming, Sarah. And they won't stop until Asher is dead and you're back under their control. Because that's what you are to them, a dormant wolf, a carrier who hasn't fully transformed. They'll want to study you, figure out why you stayed human so long. They'll lock you in a facility and run tests until you're as broken as Asher was in that basement. We'll run, Sarah said. We'll hide. We've been doing fine so far. You've been doing fine because they didn't know where you were. Now they do. My people have been tracking them, listening to their communications. They know about this motel, Sarah. They're less than an hour away. As if to punctuate her words, Sarah heard sirens in the distance. Vera heard them too. That's not the police. That's the Order's tactical team. They travel in vehicles marked as law enforcement. She held out her hand again. Please. Let me protect you. Both of you. Come with me to the compound. You'll be safe there. Sarah looked at Ash, feeling the confusion and fear radiating through their bond. He didn't trust Vera. But he also didn't have any better options. Neither did Sarah. If we come with you, Sarah said slowly, and I find out you're lying about any of this. You'll what? Fight me? Vera's smile was sharp. You might be a wolf now, Sarah, but you're an untrained, newly transformed wolf who completed her first shift less than 12 hours ago. I've been an alpha for 30 years. But I appreciate the threat. I mean it. If you hurt Asher. He's my son. I would die before I let anyone hurt him again. Vera's voice rang with absolute conviction. Now get dressed. We need to move. Sarah threw on clothes while Vera stood guard at the door. Through their bond, she could feel Ash's reluctance, his suspicion. But she could also feel his exhaustion and his fear. They didn't have a choice. They left through the back window just as the tactical vehicles pulled into the motel parking lot. Vera led them through the woods behind the building, moving with the confidence of someone who knew exactly where she was going. Sarah carried her mother's journal and the flash drive Marcus had given her, the only things she'd managed to grab. Everything else, including the cameras and days of footage, was left behind for the Silver Order to find. They walked for 2 hours through increasingly dense forest. Ash stayed close to Sarah's side, and she kept one hand on his head, drawing comfort from the contact. Finally, they emerged into a clearing where 3 black SUVs waited. My people, Vera explained. We've been camped nearby since I picked up your trail yesterday. The drivers were all young, all watching Vera with deference that made it clear she wasn't just claiming to be an alpha, she was one. They nodded respectfully to Sarah and Ash but kept their distance. The compound is 5 hours north, Vera said as they climbed into the middle vehicle. You should rest. It's going to be a long few days. Sarah wanted to stay alert, wanted to watch for betrayal. But her body had other ideas. The transformation had taken everything out of her, and within minutes of the SUV starting to move, she was asleep with her head against the window and one hand still resting on Ash's fur. She woke to Vera's voice saying, "We're here." The Blackthorn compound wasn't what Sarah expected. She'd imagined something dark and foreboding, a Gothic mansion, maybe, or a fortress. Instead, it was a collection of modern buildings spread across a mountain valley, surrounded by forest. It looked more like a private school campus than a werewolf stronghold. We're not monsters, Vera said, reading Sarah's expression. We're people who turn into wolves. There's a difference. They were led to a large cabin near the center of the compound. Inside, it was warm and comfortable, nothing like the cold basement Asher had spent 16 years in. You'll stay here, Vera said. Both of you. There are clothes in the bedroom, food in the kitchen. Someone will bring dinner in an hour. And then what? Sarah asked. And then we talk. About the Silver Order, about your father, about what happens next. Vera looked at Ash, who was exploring the cabin with obvious wariness. And we start training. Both of you need to learn control. Especially you, Sarah. What do you mean, especially me? You transformed at 27. That's unprecedented. Most wolves complete their first transformation at 18 and spend the next year learning control. You skipped all of that. Your wolf is fully formed but completely untrained. That makes you dangerous, to yourself and everyone around you. Sarah bristled. I'm not dangerous. No? Then explain how you threw your brother across a room last night with enough force to crack the wall. Or how you nearly tore the motel door off its hinges. You have alpha strength, Sarah, but zero control. That's a deadly combination. I didn't ask for this. None of us did. The curse doesn't care what we want. Vera's expression softened slightly. I know this is overwhelming. I know you're scared. But you're not alone anymore. You have a pack now. You have family. After Vera left, Sarah and Ash explored the cabin in silence. It was nicer than anywhere Sarah had lived since leaving the Brennan's house. 2 bedrooms, a full kitchen, a bathroom with a tub big enough for 3 people. And no locks on the doors. No silver collars. No cages. Ash seemed to notice this too. He moved through the space carefully, checking corners, sniffing for threats. But gradually, he started to relax. Sarah found herself watching him, her brother, her twin, the person she'd lived 27 years not knowing existed. He caught her staring and sent a feeling through their bond, curiosity. I'm just trying to figure out how we do this, Sarah said. How we move forward from here. Ash tilted his head, listening. I spent my whole life thinking I was human. Normal. And now I find out I'm, what? A werewolf? A blackthorn? I don't even know what that means. Ash padded over and pressed his head against her knee. Through their bond, she felt, together. Sarah laughed shakily. Yeah. Together. I guess that's all we can do. A knock on the door interrupted them. Sarah tensed, but it was just a young woman carrying a tray of food. Vera said you'd be hungry, the woman said, setting the tray on the kitchen counter. She had the same blue eyes as Ash, as Vera, as, Sarah realized, as Sarah herself. Family eyes. I'm Lissa. I'm your cousin. Second cousin, technically, but we don't really do removed and second and all that. Oh, Sarah said, because what else was there to say? Everyone's really excited you're here. We all thought you were dead. Lissa smiled at Ash. Especially you, Asher. Vera's been looking for you for so long. It's kind of amazing, honestly. Like a miracle. Ash ducked his head, uncomfortable with the attention. Anyway, if you need anything, just ask. We're all pretty friendly once you get to know us. Lissa hesitated at the door. Fair warning, though, there are going to be a lot of questions. Everyone wants to know what it was like, being raised human. And everyone wants to know if you're going to stay. Stay? Sarah echoed. With the pack. Here. Lissa shrugged. I mean, you don't have to. But where else would you go? The Silver Order is hunting you, and you're wolves now. You need a pack to survive. After Lissa left, Sarah and Ash picked at the food in silence. Sarah's mind was spinning with everything Vera had told them, everything Lissa had implied. The Silver Order hunting them. Their father dying because of Eleanor's betrayal. The prophecy about the Midnight King. And now this, a pack, a family, a home that Sarah had never known existed. I don't know if I can do this, Sarah said quietly. I don't know if I can be what they want me to be. Ash sent another image through their bond, Sarah as she'd been last night during the transformation, powerful and fierce and completely wolf. And then another image, Sarah as she was now, human and scared and still trying. Both, the feeling said. You're both. Sarah felt tears prick her eyes. When did you get so wise? Ash snorted, which was close enough to a laugh to make Sarah smile. They were still sitting there when the door burst open and a man Sarah had never seen before strode in, followed by 3 others wearing tactical gear. "Sarah Brennan," the man said. He was older, late 50s, with Eleanor's eyes and Eleanor's sharp features. "I'm Marcus Brennan. Your mother's brother. And you're coming with me." Sarah shot to her feet. "Like hell I am. The Silver Order has a warrant for your arrest. You're harboring a dangerous supernatural entity in violation of the Supernatural Containment Act of 1952. You need to come in for questioning." "I'm not harboring anything. He's my brother. He's a werewolf. A blackthorn werewolf, born during the blood moon." Marcus's expression was hard. "Do you have any idea what that means?" "The prophecy is bullshit," Sarah finished. "He's a 17-year-old kid who's been tortured his entire life. He's not some mythical king. You don't understand what you're dealing with." Eleanor spent years studying the curse, trying to find a way to break the prophecy. She kept him suppressed for a reason. She kept him chained in a basement. Sarah's voice rose. "She tortured him. And you're telling me that was justified?" "It was necessary. The Midnight King prophecy is just a story you people use to justify your cruelty." Marcus's jaw tightened. "I loved my sister. But she made choices I didn't agree with. Taking those babies, hiding them, trying to do everything alone, it was a mistake. But her heart was in the right place. She was trying to prevent a war. By torturing children? By stopping the Blackthorn bloodline from producing an alpha powerful enough to unite every werewolf in North America." Marcus took a step closer. "That's what the prophecy says, Sarah. The Midnight King will rise on his 18th birthday and call the Pax to war. Hundreds of thousands will die, human and wolf both. Eleanor was trying to prevent that. By destroying Asher's humanity. By keeping him contained until we could find a cure for the curse." Marcus gestured to his men. "Now come with us. Both of you. We have a facility where we can keep you safe, where we can study." "No." Sarah positioned herself in front of Ash. "We're not going anywhere with you. This isn't a request." Sarah felt something shift inside her, something wild and protective and completely beyond her control. Her vision sharpened. Her hands began to change, fingers elongating into claws. "Sarah, don't," Marcus warned. "Don't let the curse take you. Fight it." But Sarah didn't want to fight it. For the first time since this nightmare began, she felt powerful instead of helpless. She felt like she could protect her brother. She felt like a wolf. Her partial transformation completed, claws, fangs, eyes that she knew had gone golden. Not fully wolf, but not fully human either. Something in between. Marcus's men raised their weapons, tranquilizer guns, Sarah noticed, not regular firearms. "Stand down," Marcus ordered them. Then, to Sarah, "Think about what you're doing. If you attack us, if you let the wolf take control, you're proving everything the Silver Order believes about your kind. You're proving you're dangerous." "Maybe I am dangerous," Sarah said, and her voice came out wrong, deeper, rougher. "Maybe that's what I need to be to protect my family." Behind her, Ash growled in support. And Sarah realized with crystal clarity that she'd already made her choice. Not between the Silver Order and the Blackthorns. Not between humanity and the curse. Between the life Eleanor had planned for her and the life she was going to build with her brother. "Get out," Sarah said. "Tell your Silver Order that Asher Blackthorn is under my protection. If they want him, they'll have to go through me." Marcus stared at her for a long moment. Then he nodded slowly. "So be it. But understand, Sarah, you just declared war on the only organization powerful enough to keep supernatural threats contained. The Order won't stop hunting you. They won't stop until Asher is dead and you're locked away where you can't hurt anyone. Then they'd better bring an army." Marcus and his men retreated, but Sarah knew it wasn't over. It was just beginning. As soon as they were gone, Vera appeared in the doorway. She must have been listening. Well, Vera said, and she was smiling. I guess that answers the question of whether you're staying. Sarah's partial transformation receded, leaving her shaking and exhausted. I didn't have a choice. You always have a choice. You chose your brother. You chose the pack. Vera's expression turned serious. But Marcus was right about one thing, the Silver Order won't stop. They'll come for you, for Asher, for all of us. We need to be ready. Ready for what? War, Vera said simply. The one Eleanor tried to prevent. The one the prophecy predicted. She looked at Ash, who was standing close to Sarah, protective and fierce. The Midnight King has returned. And everything is about to change. If you're still listening to this story up to this point, why don't you subscribe to this channel to continue getting impactful daily stories like this? We would be most grateful if you can do that to help boost this video to reach everyone. Thank you. Chapter 5. The lunar eclipse was 3 days away. Sarah could feel it coming like a storm building on the horizon, a pressure in her bones, a restlessness that made sleep impossible. Ash felt it too. He barely left her side, and through their bond, she could sense his anxiety spiking higher with each passing hour. It's going to be okay, Sarah told him for the 100th time, though she wasn't sure she believed it. Vera had spent the past 2 days trying to prepare them both. Training sessions that left Sarah bruised and exhausted, learning to control her partial transformations, learning to fight in a form that was neither wolf nor human. Ash participated as much as he could in wolf form, but his training was different. Vera was teaching him to hold on to his humanity during the final transformation. The choice happens at midnight, Vera had explained. When the eclipse reaches totality, his body will force the final transformation. In that moment, he has to decide, commit fully to the wolf, or fight to maintain his human consciousness. Most newly turned alphas can't handle the pressure. They go one way or the other and lose themselves in the process. What happens if he chooses wrong? Sarah had asked. Vera's expression had been grim. If he commits fully to the wolf, he becomes feral, powerful, dangerous, but no longer really Asher. If he fights too hard to stay human, his body will reject the transformation entirely. He'll die. Those are terrible options. That's the curse. Now, with 3 days left, Sarah found herself back at the place where it had all started, Eleanor's Victorian house. She'd told Vera she needed to retrieve some of her mother's research, that there might be something in the journals that could help Ash survive the transformation. That was partly true. But mostly, Sarah just needed answers. Needed to understand why Eleanor had done what she'd done. Needed to find some scrap of evidence that her mother, both her mothers, had loved her. The house looked different in daylight. Smaller, shabbier, less menacing. Sarah stood in the overgrown front yard with Ash beside her, staring at the peeling paint and broken shutters. I lived here until I was 18, Sarah said quietly. Never knowing you were in the basement. Never hearing you. How is that possible? Ash pressed against her leg, offering comfort he couldn't voice. They entered through the front door, still unlocked from her last visit, untouched by the tactical team that had raided it. The Silver Order had taken what they wanted and left the rest to rot. Sarah moved through the familiar rooms like a ghost, seeing them with new eyes. The kitchen where Eleanor had cooked dinner every night, never mentioning she had another child starving in the basement. The living room where they'd watched television together, the laugh track covering the sound of chains rattling below. The hallway where Eleanor had forbidden Sarah from going near the basement door. All those years. All those lies. I should hate her, Sarah said, more to herself than to Ash. I should hate her for what she did to us both. But I just feel. She didn't have words for what she felt. It was too complex, too contradictory. Ash nudged her hand, and through their bond, she felt understanding. He didn't hate Eleanor either, despite everything. Maybe because he'd never known anything else. Or maybe because hate took energy neither of them could spare. Sarah descended the basement stairs slowly, her hand trailing along the wall. Someone had replaced the door, but the new wood was cheap and flimsy. The basement itself looked exactly as Sarah had left it: salt circle, occult symbols, the iron ring where Ash had been chained. And there, on the small table near the stairs, was something Sarah hadn't noticed before. A laptop. It was closed, unplugged, and covered in dust. Sarah opened it with trembling hands, and the screen flickered to life, still charged, or maybe running on some kind of backup power. There was one file on the desktop, dated 5 days before Eleanor's death. A video file labeled, "For Sarah." Sarah's heart hammered as she pressed play. Eleanor's face filled the screen. She looked older than Sarah remembered, haggard and gray, like she'd been sick for a long time. "Sarah," Eleanor's recorded voice said, and Sarah felt tears spring to her eyes. "If you're watching this, then I'm dead. And if you found Asher, then you know what I've done. What I've been doing for 17 years. Eleanor took a shaky breath. "I don't expect you to forgive me. I don't expect you to understand. But I need you to know the truth, all of it, before you make any decisions about what comes next." Sarah sank onto the dusty floor, Ash curling up beside her, both of them transfixed by the screen. "The Silver Order will tell you they're protecting humanity," Eleanor continued. "That supernatural beings are threats that need to be contained or eliminated. And for a long time, I believed them. I was born into the Order, raised to hunt monsters. It was all I knew. Then I met your father. Julian Blackthorn, the alpha of the strongest werewolf pack in North America. I was sent to spy on him, to gather intelligence for a planned raid. I was supposed to report back on pack numbers, defensive weaknesses, anything the Order could use to destroy them." Eleanor's expression turned distant, pained. "But Julian wasn't a monster. He was kind, intelligent, funny. He showed me that werewolves weren't mindless beasts. They were people with a curse they didn't ask for, trying to survive in a world that wanted them dead. I fell in love with him. God help me, I fell in love with the man I was supposed to destroy. And when I got pregnant with you and Asher, I thought, foolishly, that I could have both worlds. That I could protect Julian and stay loyal to the Order." Sarah felt Ash's confusion through their bond. He was hearing his father's name for the first time, learning about a man he'd never known. "The Order found out, of course," Eleanor said. "They always find out. They gave me a choice: betray Julian and his pack, or be executed alongside them as a traitor. I was 7 months pregnant. I was terrified. So I made a deal. I told them I would join the raid. I would help them destroy the Blackthorn pack. And as proof of my loyalty, I would kill Julian's unborn children, you and Asher, myself." Sarah's breath caught. Beside her, Ash whimpered. "But when you were born," Eleanor continued, her voice breaking, "I couldn't do it. I looked at you both, so tiny and perfect, and I couldn't. So I lied again. I told the Order you died during childbirth. I faked medical records, bribed a doctor. And I took you both and ran. I gave you to the Brennans because I thought you'd be safer raised as human. I thought the curse might skip you, that you might have a normal life. But Asher," Eleanor's face crumpled. "Asher showed signs of the curse immediately. Even as an infant, his eyes would flash gold when he cried. His nails would sharpen into claws. I knew the Order would sense him eventually. So I did the only thing I could think of. I put a silver collar on him. But it wasn't just silver, it was a binding spell, woven with my own blood and magic I'd learned from the Order's archives. It would suppress his transformations, keep him locked in wolf form until his 18th birthday. I told myself I was buying time. That I'd find a cure for the curse before then." Eleanor wiped her eyes. "But there is no cure. There never was. The Blackthorn curse is ancient, woven into the bloodline itself. And all I did was torture your brother for 16 years while pretending I was protecting him." Sarah felt hot tears streaming down her face. Ash pressed closer, and she wrapped her arms around him. 3 weeks ago, I realized I was dying, Eleanor said. The Order found me. I don't know how, but they found me. They've been poisoning me slowly, punishment for my betrayal. I have days left, maybe less. So I'm breaking the spell. I'm performing a counter-ritual to undo what I did to Asher. It will kill me, that's the price of breaking a blood binding, but he'll be free. He'll have a chance to become what he was meant to be. Eleanor leaned closer to the camera, her expression intense. Sarah, listen to me very carefully. You are not just a carrier. You transformed 6 months ago on your 18th birthday, but the transformation was subtle, so subtle you didn't notice. Your enhanced strength, your quick healing, your heightened senses, those weren't just adrenaline. You're a wolf, Sarah. You always were. Sarah's mind reeled. She'd attributed all those changes to stress, to grief, to anything but this. And you're not just any wolf, Eleanor continued. You're something the Order has been searching for 300 years, a dual-natured werewolf. Someone who can exist fully in both forms and switch at will, not bound by the moon or the curse's usual constraints. That's why the transformation was so subtle. Your body has been slowly adapting to accommodate both natures. The prophecy about the Midnight King? It was never about Asher. It was always about you. Sarah stopped breathing. A werewolf born under the blood moon who can bridge wolf and human, who can lead both species, that's you, Sarah. Not your brother. You're the one the Order fears. And they don't know yet, but they will. They're watching Asher because he's the obvious threat, but you're the real power. Eleanor's image flickered slightly. I need you to do something for me. Something for both of you. On Asher's 18th birthday, during the lunar eclipse, his final transformation will begin. Without the silver collar suppressing him, it will be violent and complete. He'll have to choose, wolf or human. But you have another option. Your dual nature means you can share your power. Through a blood bond, mixing your blood with his during the transformation, you can make him dual-natured too. You can give him the gift of choice, the ability to be both wolf and human instead of being forced to pick one. It will be painful. It will require you to fully embrace your wolf nature, to stop hiding from what you are. But it will save him, Sarah. It will save you both. Eleanor's expression softened. I know I don't deserve your forgiveness. I know what I did to you both is unforgivable. But please know that I loved you. I loved you both so much. Every choice I made, every terrible thing I did, was because I thought I was protecting you from a worse fate. I was wrong. About everything. And now you have to fix my mistakes. Eleanor reached toward the camera. Protect your brother. Bridge the divide I created between humans and wolves. And please, her voice broke completely, forgive me. The video ended. Sarah sat in the dusty basement, crying, with Ash pressed against her side. Through their bond, she felt his grief mixing with hers, his confusion, his anger, his desperate need to understand. She loved us, Sarah whispered. In her own broken way, she loved us. Ash made a soft sound, agreement, maybe, or just acknowledgement. They sat there until Sarah's tears dried and her breathing steadied. Then she stood, helped Ash to his feet, and climbed back up the stairs. They needed to get back to the compound. They needed to tell Vera what they'd learned. They needed to prepare for what was coming in 3 days. But when they emerged from the house, Marcus Brennan was waiting in the front yard with 20 Silver Order agents. Hello, Sarah, he said calmly. Thank you for leading us here. Sarah's blood turned to ice. What? Did you really think we'd just let you go? I've had a tracking spell on you since you left the compound. We've been waiting for you to come somewhere we could trap you without endangering the entire Blackthorn pack. Marcus gestured to the house. And here you are, in the one place with enough silver-laced infrastructure to contain you both. Sarah felt sick. You used me. I used you to save humanity. The lunar eclipse is in 3 days, Sarah. We can't let Asher undergo his final transformation. And we certainly can't let you complete yours. He pulled out what looked like a modified tranquilizer gun. You're both coming with us. We have a containment facility prepared. No. Sarah felt her partial transformation beginning, claws extending, fangs sharpening. We're not going back in a cage. Then you'll die here. Your choice. The Silver Order agents raised their weapons, silver bullets this time, not tranquilizers. They weren't taking chances. Ash growled and positioned himself in front of Sarah, ready to fight. And Sarah realized with crystal clarity, this was it. This was the moment Eleanor had been trying to prepare her for. The moment where she had to choose, hide what she was and let the Order take them, or embrace her power and fight. She chose to fight. Sarah's transformation was different this time. Not the painful, chaotic shift from her first night. This was controlled, purposeful. She felt her body change, not fully wolf, but not human either. Something in between, something powerful. Her clothes tore as she grew taller, stronger. Her vision sharpened to see in spectrums humans couldn't. Her hearing picked up every heartbeat, every breath, every whispered command from the Order agents. And she felt her wolf nature fully awaken for the first time, not a curse, but a gift. Not something to fear, but something to embrace. Stand down, Marcus said, but his voice shook. Sarah, don't make me kill you. You can try, Sarah said, and her voice was wrong, deeper, resonant with power. But I'm not alone. As if summoned by her words, wolves poured out of the forest surrounding the house. Dozens of them, all bearing the Blackthorn pack scent. And at their head, in her own massive wolf form, was Vera. The Silver Order agents wavered. 20 against 40 weren't good odds. This is your last warning, Marcus said. Surrender now, or we will use lethal force. No, a new voice said. You won't. Sarah turned to see Marcus the veterinarian, her cousin, she realized now, stepping out from among the Blackthorn wolves. He was bruised and limping, clearly recently freed from Silver Order custody, but his eyes were fierce. Marcus, Uncle Marcus said, and Sarah heard genuine pain in his voice. Don't do this. Don't betray the Order for these creatures. They're not creatures. They're family. Our family. Marcus moved to stand beside Sarah and Ash. I've spent my whole life studying the curse, trying to find a way to break it. And I finally understand, it doesn't need to be broken. It needs to be accepted. You're a fool. Maybe. But I'm a fool who's choosing love over fear. Marcus looked at Sarah. I have the research. Everything you need for the blood bond ritual Eleanor mentioned. I can help you save Asher. Uncle Marcus's expression hardened. Then you'll die with them. The battle began. Sarah had never fought before, not really. But her wolf instincts took over, guiding her movements, teaching her to dodge and strike and protect. She fought alongside Ash, their bond allowing them to move in perfect synchronization. The Blackthorn pack descended on the Silver Order agents with controlled fury. Vera led them, a silver-gray wolf the size of a small horse, taking down agents with brutal efficiency. But the Order had silver weapons and training. They fought back hard, and the yard quickly became chaos, wolves and humans and something in between, all fighting for their vision of the future. Sarah saw Uncle Marcus aim his silver bullet gun at Ash and moved without thinking. She threw herself in front of her brother, and the bullet struck her shoulder. The pain was indescribable. Silver burned through her system like poison, and her partial transformation faltered. She collapsed, and Ash's howl of rage shook the air. Through dimming vision, Sarah saw Ash change. Not the gradual transformation she'd witnessed before. This was instant, violent, impossible. One moment he was a wolf, the next he was human. A naked, furious human with eyes that glowed gold and fangs that hadn't fully receded. Get away from my sister, Asher said, and his voice carried a power that made everyone stop and turn. Uncle Marcus stared. That's impossible. You can't shift at will. You haven't completed your 18th year transformation yet. Apparently I can. Asher's body rippled, and he shifted back to wolf form in seconds. Then back to human. Then to something in between, the same hybrid form Sarah had achieved. Sarah understood through the haze of pain, the blood bond. It was already forming. When she'd taken the silver bullet for him, her blood had mixed with his through their twin connection. Eleanor's ritual was activating early, triggered by their need to protect each other. He's dual-natured, Marcus the veterinarian breathed. Sarah shared her power with him. No, Uncle Marcus said. No, this can't happen. The prophecy is being fulfilled right now, Vera said, having shifted to human form. She stood naked and unashamed, covered in the blood of the agents she'd killed. Not one Midnight King, but two. Twin rulers, able to bridge both worlds. This is what Eleanor was trying to tell you, Marcus. This is what she died to make possible. Uncle Marcus looked around at his decimated team, at the Blackthorn pack surrounding them, at Sarah and Asher standing together, two hybrid forms, two impossible beings that shouldn't exist. This isn't over, he said. The Order is bigger than one team. They'll send more. They'll keep sending more until... Until what? Sarah asked, finding her voice despite the silver poisoning. Until you've killed every werewolf in North America? Until you've destroyed every family like ours? When does it end, Uncle Marcus? When does the fear end? When the threat is eliminated. We're not a threat. We're people. Cursed people, but still people. Sarah forced herself to stand, Asher supporting her weight. Eleanor understood that at the end. That's why she broke the binding spell. That's why she died to free Asher. She chose love over fear. And look where it got her. Dead and betrayed. She died saving her children, Vera said quietly. She died doing the right thing. Can you say the same, Marcus? When your time comes, will you be proud of what you've done in the Order's name? Uncle Marcus was quiet for a long moment. Then he lowered his weapon. Fall back, he told his remaining agents. We're leaving. Sir, one of them protested. I said fall back. Marcus looked at Sarah one last time. This isn't mercy. This is tactical retreat. We'll regroup, we'll get reinforcements, and we'll come back. The Order always comes back. Then we'll be ready, Sarah said. The Silver Order agents retreated, dragging their wounded with them. Within minutes, the yard was empty except for the Blackthorn pack and Sarah's little family, Ash, Vera, and Marcus the veterinarian. We need to get that silver out of you, Marcus said, moving to Sarah's side. Silver poisoning is fatal to werewolves if it reaches the heart. How much time do I have? Hours, maybe less. We need to get you back to the compound, to the medical facilities. But Sarah shook her head. No time. The eclipse is in 3 days. We do the blood bond ritual now, while the silver is still in my system. The shared power will heal us both. That's insane, Marcus protested. The ritual is supposed to happen during the transformation, during the eclipse. Eleanor's message said it would be painful, Sarah interrupted. She didn't say it had to be during the eclipse. And Asher's already showing dual nature abilities. The bond is forming whether we want it to or not. She looked at her brother. We finish it now. We become what we're meant to be. Together. Asher nodded, his expression fierce and determined. Vera stepped forward. I'll guide you through it. The blood bond is an old ritual, but I know the words. We can do it here, now, in the place where Eleanor kept you imprisoned. A fitting symbol, freedom rising from captivity. They gathered in the basement one final time. Sarah and Asher stood facing each other in the salt circle, and Vera began to chant in a language Sarah didn't recognize, something old and primal and powerful. Marcus provided the knife, silver, ironically, because the ritual required silver to bind silver to blood to power. Cut your palm, Vera instructed. Both of you. Then clasp hands and let your blood mix. Sarah's hand was shaking as she drew the blade across her palm. The silver in her system made the pain worse, but she gritted her teeth and endured it. Asher cut his own palm without hesitation. They clasped hands, blood mingling, and Sarah felt the bond between them explode into something massive and overwhelming. Power flooded through her, Asher's power, his wolf nature, his strength. And she felt her own power flowing into him, her dual nature, her ability to shift at will, her connection to both worlds. The transformation began. Not the violent, painful shift Sarah had experienced before. This was different, like their bodies were learning a new language together, teaching each other how to be both wolf and human simultaneously. Sarah felt her form shift and change. Felt fur ripple across her skin and then recede. Felt her bones reshape and reform without breaking. Felt her consciousness split between human thought and wolf instinct, then merge them into something new. Something perfect. When it ended, Sarah and Asher stood in the basement in their hybrid forms, stronger than human, more controlled than wolf, something beautifully in between. How do you feel? Vera asked, awed. Sarah looked at her hands, human hands with retractable claws, capable of delicate work or devastating strikes. She felt her teeth with her tongue, human teeth that could sharpen to fangs at will. She felt her senses, sharp as a wolf's, controllable as a human's. Complete, Sarah said. For the first time in my life, I feel complete. Asher nodded, and through their bond, deeper now, permanent, Sarah felt his agreement. His relief. His joy. They'd done it. Against all odds, against the Order's plans and Eleanor's fears and the curse itself, they'd become something new. Something the world had never seen before. Twin rulers. Dual-natured werewolves. The Midnight Kings the prophecy had foretold. What happens now? Marcus asked. Sarah looked at Vera, at Marcus, at the pack gathered in the yard outside. Then she looked at Asher and saw her own determination reflected in his eyes. Now we change everything, Sarah said. The lunar eclipse arrived 3 days later, and instead of hiding from it, Sarah and Asher stood on the highest point of the Blackthorn compound and let the world see what they were. The eclipse turned the moon blood red, casting the forest in crimson light. And as midnight struck, Sarah and Asher transformed together, not into wolves, not into humans, but into their perfect hybrid forms, visible to anyone watching. News helicopters circled overhead. The story had broken 2 days earlier when Marcus the veterinarian had gone public with proof of werewolves, of the Silver Order, of everything. The world was watching. And Sarah gave them a show. She and Asher shifted through their forms, human to hybrid to wolf and back again, demonstrating perfect control. Showing the world that werewolves weren't mindless monsters. They were people with a gift, a power that could be controlled and used for good. Below, the Blackthorn pack joined them, dozens of wolves howling at the blood moon. And around the world, in cities and towns and hidden compounds, other werewolf packs heard the call and answered. The Midnight Kings had risen, and they were calling their people home. The Silver Order tried to respond. Uncle Marcus mobilized every agent, every resource, preparing for war. But Sarah and Asher didn't give them a war. Instead, they gave them peace talks. They met with government officials, with the heads of the Silver Order, with human rights organizations and supernatural advocacy groups. And slowly, painfully, they began to build something new, a framework for coexistence, for cooperation between humans and werewolves. It wasn't easy. There were setbacks, attacks, moments when war seemed inevitable. But Sarah and Asher stood firm, 2 bridges between worlds, refusing to let either side destroy what they were building. Vera led the Blackthorn pack into a new era, teaching young werewolves control instead of suppression. Marcus the veterinarian established the first interspecies medical center, treating both humans and werewolves. And the Silver Order, stripped of its power and forced to answer for centuries of atrocities, was dissolved and reformed as the Interspecies Relations Council, still cautious, still watchful, but no longer hunting. Uncle Marcus disappeared after the peace accords were signed. Some said he died. Others said he went into hiding, still believing in the old ways. Sarah didn't know which was true, and she found she didn't care. She'd made peace with Eleanor's legacy, with her own dual nature, with the complicated truth that people could love you and still hurt you terribly. 6 months after the blood moon eclipse, Sarah stood in the forest near the compound with Asher at her side. They'd just come back from a run, their first in weeks, with the peace talks and negotiations consuming all their time. "Do you ever regret it?" Sarah asked. "Becoming this? Being the Midnight King?" Asher smiled, a human smile on a human face, though Sarah could see the wolf in his eyes. "Not even for a second." "Do you?" "No." Sarah looked up at the full moon rising through the trees. "I spent 27 years thinking I was ordinary. Thinking I was just Sarah, the adopted girl with no past and no purpose. And now you're extraordinary," Asher finished. "You're the woman who changed the world. We changed it together." "Yeah. Together." They shifted into their wolf forms without speaking, the transformation as easy as breathing now. Sarah was a silver wolf, large and powerful, with Eleanor's blue eyes. Asher was black as midnight with golden eyes that glowed in the dark. Together, they ran. Through the forest, under the full moon, past the boundaries of the compound and into the wilderness beyond. 2 wolves, 2 siblings, 2 parts of one soul that had been fractured and finally made whole. Sarah heard other wolves join them, the pack, following their midnight kings, running free under the moon they no longer had to fear. And Sarah realized this was what Eleanor had wanted all along, what she died to make possible, freedom. Not just for Asher, not just for Sarah, but for all their kind. The freedom to be both wolf and human, monster and person, cursed and blessed all at once. The freedom to choose. Sarah threw back her head and howled, and the sound echoed across the mountains, a cry of joy, of triumph, of 2 siblings who'd found each other against impossible odds and refused to be separated again. Asher's howl joined hers, harmonizing perfectly, and together they sang to the moon that had witnessed their birth, their suffering, and finally, their liberation. Behind them, the pack howled in response, dozens of voices joining together in a song that said, "We are here. We are free. We are family." And somewhere in the stars, Sarah thought, Eleanor heard them and smiled. The curse that had bound the Blackthorn bloodline for 7 generations was broken. Not destroyed, but transformed into something beautiful. And the Midnight Kings, twin rulers, dual-natured werewolves, bridges between worlds, ran together through the forest they'd claimed as home, finally free and finally family. The prophecy had been fulfilled. Not with war, but with love. Not with destruction, but with hope. And the world, watching them run, began to learn that monsters weren't always what they seemed. Sometimes monsters were just people waiting for someone to see their humanity. Sometimes curses were gifts in disguise. Sometimes the things that made you different were exactly what made you extraordinary. Sarah and Asher ran until dawn, when they shifted back to human form on a cliff overlooking the compound. They sat together, watching the sun rise over their territory, their pack, their new world. "Happy birthday, brother," Sarah said, even though his birthday had been months ago. Asher laughed. "Happy birthday, sister." They sat in comfortable silence, 2 people who'd spent 17 years apart and had a lifetime of togetherness ahead of them. "What do we do now?" Asher asked eventually. Sarah smiled. "Now we live. We build. We protect. We lead." She looked at him. "We do everything Eleanor couldn't. Everything she wanted for us but was too afraid to let happen. Together. Always together." As the sun crested the horizon, burning away the last shadows of night, Sarah and Asher stood and shifted one final time, not to wolf or human, but to their hybrid forms, their true selves, the perfect balance they'd fought so hard to achieve. And hand in hand, the Midnight Kings descended from their mountain to face whatever came next. Together. Finally free. Finally family. Finally home. The end. Thank you for watching this video. Subscribe, like and share this video to continue listening to this type of story daily and also, to appreciate this community too. I would like to hear your wonderful opinion about this story. Please comment below.